everyone, this is Eric Martin with Board Game Geek, and today I'm bringing you Horrified.
No,
today...
wait, stop. No, that's not how we're going to do things here.
Yeah.
Horrified is a game based on the Universal Monster movie series featuring Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, which they just call Frankenstein for simplicity, Bride of Frankenstein, Invisible Man, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Wolfman, the Mummy, all the classics, but not Invasion of the Body Snatchers. That is not one of the movies featured here, so no false Erics in this video. Let's look at how this game works. Here's the starting setup for Horrified. If you play by the rules for your first game, Dracula and Creature from the Black Lagoon are the monsters that you have to remove from the town in order to win. You have only 2 monsters in play, and these that are relatively straightforward to play against, so you learn the system of the game. And then later on, you can play against 2 monsters at random, or 3 or 4 monsters, to increase the difficulty of the game. Each player is going to take one of these 7 characters. Each character has from 3 to 5 actions. Most have a special action, and they all tell you where they start play. So if we have a 2-player game with the Explorer and the Scientist, the Explorer starts in the camp. Their special ability is to teleport to any non-water space, which is great, which is why they have only 3 actions total. The Scientist adds 1 to the power of any item when they use it during the game. And you start with 12 items at random from the bag that has 60 items. Each item tells you where it goes, and items come in 3 colors, yellow, red, or blue, and they range in value from 1 to 6. The monsters are set up in particular locations based on whichever monsters are in play. Dracula has 4 coffins around the board, and to defeat Dracula, you must destroy these 4 coffins and then attack Dracula directly. With the Creature from the Black Lagoon, you must take your boat and travel to the monster's lair, and then once you do that, you have found the monster and you can defeat it. All of that revolves around the items in the game. So when you're playing, if the Scientist is going to take the first turn, has 4 actions total, you can pick up items for 1 action. You just put them in front of you and you keep them until you use them or discard them to prevent you from being attacked. That's 1 action. 2nd action, I could pick this up for a 3rd action. 4th action, done. What am I trying to do? Well, to destroy coffins, I need to be on this space and I need to discard red items that total 6 or more points. When I do that, I flip over the coffin's destroyed, and then all 4 of them let me go attack Dracula. With the creature, I'm trying to travel by boat to its lair, so I have to travel to the camp. I can discard items of any color, and I move the boat to the next space of that color. So I don't want to discard a red and then a yellow. Nope, I want to discard a yellow and then a red, so I'll be further along the path. Once I get to the lair, then I can discard a yellow, red, and blue, and if I'm on the same space as the creature, and destroy it. So I take my turn, straightforward. You have a creature. You then draw from the monster deck. The monster deck has 30 cards. Each card has 3 items on it. Tells you the number of items you put into play. So you draw those and put them out. Camp and the mansion. You have some sort of effect here. If the monster is not in play, well, then you just ignore it. So the more monsters you add to the game, the more effects will happen, which will make the game more challenging for you. In this case, move the hero or villager closest to Dracula 3 spaces toward him. So if you count, both of these are 4 spaces away from Dracula. You can choose whichever one you want. I have items to defend myself, so perhaps I want to go over 3 spaces toward Dracula. I don't really want to, but you don't have a choice. And then at the bottom, these monsters will do something. Will move towards people that are on the board. So the Mummy moves. Mummy's not in play. Invisible Man, not in play. Creature from the Black Lagoon, 1 space, and will attack me with 2 dice where I am. So you roll 2 dice. We got 1 blank. There's 2 blanks on the die. There's 1 hit. There's 3 hits, and then there's a special power die, power symbol. So 1 hit, I can discard 1 item, any item of my choice, and I will stay there and nothing will happen to me. Or I can choose to take the hit and then I am transported off the board. And at the start of my next turn, I'll be placed in the hospital. That's Not much of a drawback because I get to keep all my items. However, the terror level goes up by 1 space. And if the terror level hits 7, then we lose the game. So there's a limited number of times that you can be taken out and have no consequences for it. So that's it. Next player goes. The explorer perhaps picks up these items, can go ahead and discard them. Discard 1. So discard a yellow to move ahead here. For the third action, let's travel over to the theater. So we have something here, something here. Actually, we'll go to the barn. We'll have some tools that we can pick up, the red, and then discard them to eliminate the coffin. You want to have a plan for where everything's going, but things can change based on whatever comes up with the monster cards. So 3 items go on the board. Oh, something else in the barn. Good. Mansion. And more in the barn. Got a rifle. You have a villager who comes into play. There's 10 villagers in this deck of 30 monster cards. Lucy is placed in the theater, and at the top of Lucy's card, or character, it tells you where she wants to go. She wants to go to the mansion. If you get her to the mansion, then you get to draw one of these bonus cards, and you can keep that and play it at any time on any hero's turn. However, if Lucy is attacked by one of the monsters, she has no items to discard in her defense, and the terror will go up 1 level automatically. So you need to take care of the villagers while also trying to eliminate the monsters. So we have the scientist next turn. 1, 2. I can pick these up for 3. I can then discard 6 points worth of red items. 4 to remove 1 coffin. Flip over the next card. Put no items on the board. There's a mummy effect that does nothing. And then the Wolfman moves. Dracula moves 1. And the Invisible Man. So easy peasy here at the moment. With the villagers, you can spend an action to draw them to your space. But of course, Lucy wants to go to the mansion. So why do that? You can pick up all these for 1 action, move here, and then when you move, Lucy will move with you. So you can transport her, and then here you can use an action to send her to the mansion. She'll be safely in the mansion, and you get the special action. You'll keep drawing from the deck, and as you have different effects, more items will go on the board. You'll build up red, in this case, to destroy coffins. You'll pick up other items to move the boat. You will also have this little frenzied symbol here. And the frenzied symbol starts on the monster with the lowest value, and that provides additional actions for that monster whenever that frenzied symbol comes up. Sometimes the frenzied symbol will move, and so you cannot always be sure of what's going to happen each turn at the end of your turn and how safe you are from the monsters, because they will move and things will shift around, and sometimes they'll move 1 space and sometimes 3. You have lots to defend yourself against in this game. There's an overview of most of what's going on in Horrified, which I played 4 times on a review copy from the publisher, Ravensburger. The designer is Prospero Hall, and you might recognize that combination. It's happening a lot these days with the Villainous game and its expansions, with the Jaws game, and now with this title as well. Horrified is for 1 to 5 players. I've played once solo, once 2-player, and twice 3-player. I played with different monster combinations. So far, over 4 games, I've won all of them. Or I've been in the winning group of all of them. And it's interesting to see how the game shifts in terms of luck and how things can just magically fall in your lap. We had one game that we sort of had a path of what we think we could do long term in order to win, and then we flipped over a monster card, and this red 6 item just dropped right in the space next to me as I was going next, and it's like, oh, that changes everything. I can use that to destroy a coffin, and then we're going to be sailing to victory right after that. We've had other sorts of lucky breaks along those lines, and I could definitely see where things are going wrong. In the solo game, I won with only 3 monster cards left in the deck, and if the deck runs out and you have to draw a card and you can't, you lose. So you have 2 ways to lose the game. You run through the monster deck, so you can't delay forever. You can't just run away from the monsters and not let them hurt you, and then eventually you're going to put everything together. You have a limited amount of time in which to do things, 31 turns total. Again, you lose if you have 7 people who've been sent to the hospital, whether it's a villager who's just taken 1 hit, it's gone off the board, or it's the heroes who have to go get refreshed. So you've got those 2 things that are working against you, and the monsters keep coming, and the monster deck gives you a wildly varied experience in terms of what's going to happen, especially as you add more monsters to play. I played twice with 3 monsters in play, once in the solo game and once with the 3-player game. And the more monsters you have, of course, the more effects are going to happen and the more they're going to move based on whatever the symbols are on the bottom of the card. So you have more things to balance as you add those monsters into play. So I'll give you a little taste of what they are. The Bride and Frankenstein, as they're called here, you have to make them more human. You must discard blue items and yellow items in order to increase their humanity. And they have a little dial that goes up based on the strength of the item that you give to them. So as the scientist, items are stronger, so they will more quickly become human. They start at 2 locations on the board, and they keep trying to move to each other. And as they move to each other, it go into the same space, the terror level goes up, they return to their locations again, and then they start again. So you're trying to push them away from each other, using special cards in order to move one or the other, shift them around, and as you play items onto them to humanize them, you can move them from one another. So you're giving them lessons on how to care and not kill. So as long as you have humanized both of them when they next meet, they run off together and have a good life together. So it's good and satisfying. With the Mummy, you have 6 symbols, 6 scarab symbols, numbered 1 to 6, and they start face down with a 4, 5, and 6 over here face down, and the 1, 2, 3 over here. Each time you discard a yellow item in the museum, you can flip over a scarab or shift it. So you have to eventually shift it so the numbers 1 to 6 are all in the proper spaces, and then when you do, you discard enough red items to remove the mummy. As with the creature from the Black Lagoon, which has the camp on the board to help track where you need to go in order to deposit the items that you're using to defeat the monster, with the mummy, you have an overlay for the museum, and when you visit the museum, that's where you can get rid of yellow items to move the scarabs around the board. With the Wolfman, you have to drop off 6 blue items in values 1, 2, and 3 twice. And you do that at the laboratory, where of course you are trying to develop a cure, and whoever delivers the last item is going to take the cure, and then whoever holds the cure, you can pass that along just like other items. They have to meet the Wolfman and then discard a bunch of red items. With the Invisible Man, you are trying to get evidence against him, so you have to get one token from each of these 5 locations and deliver it to the precinct, where the police will then investigate. After you deliver all the evidence, they'll find, yes, there's enough evidence to convict the Invisible Man. Then you must catch him and get rid of a bunch of red items, which is a running theme with a lot of these. Lots of red in here. The different combination of monsters that you have in play is going to affect how you value the various items that are on the board. So if you have the Frankensteins and Wolfman and the Mummy, well, those 3 all need yellow and blue for their primary actions. And so red is initially useless until you actually finish the primary task for the Wolfman and the Mummy, and then you get to defeat them with red items. So initially, it's yellow and blue all the way. Those are the things that are precious and that you won't want to throw away to avoid getting hit by monsters. Whereas if you had the Invisible Man and Wolfman and the Mummy and Dracula, well, Dracula needs red ones to defeat the coffins, and this other 3 needs red ones to finish them off. And so every red is going to become precious. So that'll change over the course of the game. But primarily how we were approaching monsters is not looking at them whole piecemeal, at everything all at once, because it didn't seem to make sense to attack a little here and a little here and a little here, and then you'd still have all the monsters come at you. So the 2 times that I played with 3 monsters, we would just focus on one, eliminate that, and now those monster cards, when they have the event come up, doesn't mean anything. When the symbol comes up on the bottom, doesn't matter. So the course of the game does not take this sort of normal cooperative story arc, where you have rising tension over the course of the game as the threat escalates and things go on, and then you either have everything blow up or you resolve it in a good manner. Instead, the tension kind of peaks in the middle, as the monsters are coming out and the villagers are coming on the board, you're worried about them getting removed, the terror level's rising, things are happening. But instead, oh, I just got rid of a monster, and the tension just drops. And then it drops again when you get rid of that second one, and then the last one you just focus on clean up at the end. So it has a different flow in there. You're still focusing a lot on the puzzling together of all the items and how you're going to maximize the value of everything. I don't want to throw away 2 5s to destroy a coffin for Dracula because that adds up to 10 points. But of course, how much effort is it going to be to go get other things so I have exactly 6 in order to save those red points for use in something else? The little challenges that come up in play as you try to puzzle out everything and put together the special actions of each of the characters, which is an interesting challenge. So we had one game where it was the Explorer and the Courier. So the Explorer teleports anywhere, and the Courier can go where a hero is. And it was only a 2-player game. So the Explorer can go somewhere, then the Courier would follow. And likewise. And so that led to constant sharing and focus on everything all at once among the two of us, just doing everything together. So different combinations of heroes are going to do different things. It's a little weird though with that tension, getting back to that, because I've talked with someone else about the flow of the game, and that player has played a solo game and a 2-player game, and both of them were easy. They won both. And I won with 1, 2, and 3 players. The game has won the 5 players, and I hate to speculate about the 4 and 5-player game. I'd prefer to play it and actually report, but I am trying to talk about lots of games before they come out at Gen Con, just to let people know what's coming. And what's weird is, looking at the flow of Horrified, I find lots of similarities to an earlier game from Prospero Hall when they were using the Forest Prison creative name, and that's Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. So, I don't know if you played this game. The game from USAopoly is for 2 to 4 players, and it has a similar player structure in the turn to Horrified. And what I mean by that is, you're going to do something, and the bad guys do something. The structure is reversed in Harry Potter, if I remember correctly. Villains first, then heroes. Horrified, it's heroes first, villain. Doesn't matter. The important point is that when it's not your turn, you're still going to get hit by the negative effects of the monster cards. So in a solo game, I'm going to do something, maybe the monster gets to me, and then on my next turn, I'm going to run away. In a 2-player game, you can manage a lot more. How far away am I from a monster? What are the likely odds that it's going to get to me based on the 2 cards that will be revealed before my next turn? When you go up to 5 players, I'm going to take a turn, and then there's going to be 5 monster cards that come up before my turn comes around again, which means there's a very good chance that some monster is going to get to me, and once it's on top of me, it's not going to move away. If its card comes up again for the movement, it's going to just strike me, which means I need to have a ton of items to throw them away constantly, which means we're wasting items and not progressing in our fight against the monsters, or I'm going to go to the hospital, which seems like it would happen a lot in a game with 4 and 5 players, just because of the negative effects raining down on me. Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle had a lot of people saying similar things, where the 4-player game, you're going to be hit by the negative consequences on the other 3 players' turns before you get to do anything and play your cards and heal before, and heal and get yourself back up out of danger level. With 2 players, which is how I only play the game with my son, everything was relatively easy until year 6. And then we just died quickly there. But with 2 players, we breezed through initially, and that's because we would have my turn, a negative on the other player's turn, and then it's my turn again. So I have more chances for positive action relative to the negative action of the bad guys. And in Horrified, it's going to be the same thing, where mostly I have to run away, or I have to collect items in order to have shields against the attacks of the monsters. So the same number of positive actions versus escalating negative actions as you add more players to the game. So I look forward to playing with more players because I've enjoyed my first 4 games, but I'm curious as to what's going to happen. And of course, maybe then it makes more sense to have the introductory game with the Dracula and Creature from the Black Lagoon in a 4 and 5 player game, because it will matter more. We have to manage more the actual movement of the creatures, where heroes can play bait to keep the monster moving. In a solo game, it's very easy to do that, where you are staying equidistant from the monster as a villager, so that way the monster goes towards you. So you can't manage lots of villagers on the board because it's just you. You can't teleport with them if you're the explorer. So you have to walk with them, but ideally you can manage the flow of the monsters in order that it doesn't matter. And so maybe that's more of an element with the 4 and 5 player game, which I just haven't experienced yet because I haven't had that many heroes on the board. So something to look forward to as I play more games of Horrified. You get to start from scratch and see how it works out for you.